Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Moms After Dark, the show where being a little edgy, being very real, loving drag queens, and drinking vodka are all okay. It is okay to buy a candy bar and eat it without telling anyone. You know what else we can do? Call our vagina a vagina. Leave your judgy at the door because we are also not offended if you say black, purple, gay, pan, or just human. We are here to educate ourselves with love and humor. Grab a drink of something refreshing and let's have a bit of fun.
Welcome to Moms After Dark. Here's your host, Carrie.
Welcome to Moms After Dark. We're going to talk about what's wrong with your kid today. My guest today is Barbara. Barbara is local here in Palm Harbor,
yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You live on this side or that side of Palm Harbor?
I live on the east side.
On the east side. Moving on up to the east side. Sorry. In recent years, having a diagnosis of, I like to call them life impairments. Mm-hmm. Because it really is a lifelong thing that we have, and it's something that's around. And an impairment doesn't necessarily mean that it takes away from, but it gives you a challenge.
Right.
So that's where I go. Some people say a mental delay or an educational delay or something like that. There's so many terms, and you have to just kind of find what fits in your vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So that's, if you hear me say it, that's what I'm saying.
All right.
It's a lot more commonplace. Mm-hmm. Instead of, oh my God, that child needs some discipline, sit it down and bust its tail. Mm-hmm. Now we have places that we can go and say, hey, my kid has ADHD, mm-hmm. or my kid is on the autism spectrum, or my kid does have a learning disability of some sorts, or a delay, or whatever it is, or dyslexia. Mm-hmm. We can get that diagnosed instead of whoop that kid's butt and set him in the corner because he doesn't know how to behave. It's a lot different nowadays. And I told you earlier, like we were talking, why I chose to do this episode is because when my daughter was younger, my youngest daughter, I have two daughters, when my youngest was a little bit younger and less in control of her ADHD, she would stand up and eat. Like in restaurants, stand in McDonald's, and she would stand and watch the other kids playing, but she knew she needed to eat, so she would stand there and eat. If we were at Outback Steakhouse, she's cutting her steak, she'd take the whole chair away, she doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So that is, what led me to want to do this, and I have several friends that have children with disabilities, with challenges, as far as, severe Down syndrome where they're nonverbal, and here we are. How do we start a conversation with somebody that doesn't understand this?
I mean, and a lot of times you just talk about your child.
Mm-hmm.
The terms I hear thrown around are neurotypical, neurodivergent. Mm-hmm. For my son, he's what's considered dual exceptional, so it means he's gifted as well as has... In his case, he has two specific learning disorders: dyslexia for reading, and then a mild impairment with his writing as far as a learning disorder. Okay. So
do the dyslexia and the writing coincide with each other?
They mean he can't spell as easily.
Okay.
Is the biggest issue, spelling, and then his writing itself is often difficult to read. Okay. But because he's gifted, he's able to hide it very, very well.
Nice. Yeah. We're gonna... I want to assure everyone out there that I am here to educate and bring a variety of views. I'm not here to shame or judge or do any of that. So if somebody out there is listening, I'm going to say it directly to my camera. Grow a thick skin. Put on your big girl thong. And know that we're not talking about you. If something that we say that brings a negative light to what you're feeling, and it must resonate with you, then maybe, just maybe, it's something that A, you have firsthand knowledge of, B, have chosen to ignore, or C, are ignorant of, and now you have learned something. Some people do not like learning. They do not like it when you point a finger and you go, hey, look, that is not okay. They don't like that. So, all right. I'm excited to hear your story. So we talked a little bit about your son. He is double exceptional because he's dyslexic and gifted.
Correct. Yes.
So what I'm reading is wonky, but I'm learning everything. That's kind of his vibe, right?
It is. He asks all the questions about everything. His current thing is like, what's the world's tallest this? What's the world's smallest this? What's the world's biggest car? He wants to learn it all, but then when it comes down to having to read, he's like, can you just read it to me?
Yeah.
So it's very much, he wants to know it, but he struggles to figure out how to know it.
How to know it. So what ways have you encouraged him to like push through that? Is there a way to, it's not a curable thing.
No.
It's always going to be there.
Correct.
It's always going to be there. So what steps does he take when he knows that he has to read something? Does he just say, okay, I know that this is going to take me 30 minutes instead of 3 minutes?
First of all, the neuropsychologist said, get him a tutor, but not just any tutor. You need a tutor.
It's somebody that understands dyslexia, absolutely.
Not just understands it, but there's specific methods of teaching. There's the Orton Gillingham, there's a Barton, there's the Linda Mood Bell, there's all these different methods.
Yeah.
Get him a tutor and get him an IEP. So we start the tutoring.
Absolutely.
We start the IEP process, and then what we realize is that the tutor's working. She's helping him figure this out. So the school's like, oh, he's improving. He doesn't need this IEP.
Oh.
So my name's Alexia. I am a mom of two. So I have a son who is 13 and a daughter who's 8. They're my whole world. I am a stylist now about 12 years. So I went to hair school half-time as well as high school half-time. At first I wanted it as like a trade underneath of my sleeve, and I found out that I was pregnant young, so I decided to just go for it because I really enjoyed it. I get my salon name Wholehearted Hair because I'm a mom and I do hair with my whole heart.
You said that you've been in the hair industry for 12 years. How long have you owned your own place?
So I've been here since May, so it's been about 9 months.
What was it like taking that step?
I would say it was really, really nerve-wracking, especially at first. But as much as it was nerve-wracking, is equally was exciting. So I feel like as the days went on, and I put my room together more and more, the less nerves, more excitement.
Yeah.
And then as, I started seeing people interested, and my guests from my last salon follow me over, it just was more and more exciting as the day went by. And it was very, very like self-empowering too, to show my kids the way. I want to show them like, you can pursue your dreams, do what you want. Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
It's, so do your kids understand the magnitude? I mean, they're old enough to get it.
Yeah.
Do they understand the magnitude of being able to break off from being a dependent person through your career to being an independent person through your career?
I feel like they kind of, like my son kind of gets a glimpse of it. But they, you know, I always stress to them the balance of like school, personal, so that it prepares them for school, work, and personal, because you know, you have to have like that balance constantly. So
Absolutely.
I feel like that is the sense that I'm trying to instill in them, but do they fully understand it? Probably not.
Okay.
But I will say, a couple months ago, my dad asked my son, you know, because he's getting older, like, hey, you know, what your interests are? Do you know what you want to do when you get older? And his response was, I just want to be successful and happy doing what I'm doing like my mom. And that was like the best thing ever. Like, he said that to him. I wasn't around. My dad pulled me aside later on and said that. Like, that was amazing. Like, it shows me I'm doing something right. So even if they don't completely understand it, I'm doing something right and making an impact. So.
What do you see now that you've taken this step? You're almost, what, a year in?
Yeah.
We're coming up on a year in May.
So exciting.
Are you going to have like a big shindig?
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll definitely do like a one year kickoff. Like
Very cool.
1 year anniversary, do, you know, some
Where do you
giveaways.
see down the line? What do you see in 5 years?
I definitely can see a bigger space. I love where we're at here. I love working on my own here, like just having one chair, but maybe adding another chair where I would love to train. I love educating every guest that sits in my chair. I tell them about their hairstyle, about their maintenance, about how to recreate the look at home, how to do, you know, eco-friendly hair practices at home, things like that. So I would love to get more into the education aspect, whether that's I teach classes on hair cutting or I teach styling lessons to people who need a little help.
To moms.
Moms, yeah.
On the go moms.
Yeah.
What is your mom's superpower?
My mom's superpower, I would say, gosh, that's a big word. I would say, I mean, every mom has love, but I would say that's my biggest thing, is like just the bond and the growth that we all have together. And I think that might just be elevated because of being like a younger mom and now an entrepreneur, a mompreneur if you must.
Mompreneur.
Yeah, so I would say that would be my biggest thing, is, you know, just like wrapping my arms around them for whatever, you know, they need. And they do that a lot for me too. It's literally crazy. You don't really realize until you're in that moment, like how much they comfort you as well.
Very cool. It can be a tough situation, or it can be like a new challenge, right? You, as a parent that's got somebody that has some life-altering awesomeness, you can either look at it and go, oh my God, I'm going to have to put up with this shit forever, right? How old are they when they grow out of it? Never? Oh, y'all gave me the wrong kid. Or we can go, oh, sweet, challenge accepted. Where are you on that?
So I am at the point where I am so grateful I divorced his father.
Yes.
And I have an amazing boyfriend who helped me recognize this is what's going on.
Right.
Didn't drill into me, but did drill into me that your child needs testing.
Yeah.
I have a younger sister who's dyslexic. And once we found out that diagnosis, she immediately talked. She's like, oh, it's cool. Look, I can read. I do this.
Yeah.
I didn't know I had like 5 or 6 other family members with dyslexia. My mom never told me.
That's crazy.
Well, the thing is, apparently it's genetic. But once my boyfriend found this out, he's like, we're doing this. And if I'm wrong, I will eat the testing money. If I'm wrong, I'm going to, he was full on board. Once we did it, he's like, your son has this, and we need to make this right, because if we don't fix this,
Yeah.
nothing against Florida's educational system.
Oh, everything.
But, okay,
Oh,
everything gets
sorry.
that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did I say that out loud?
But-
Filter.
But if we don't make this right now, he's going to be stuck here, and he's going to
Yeah.
continue to struggle, and
Right.
he's not going to get out.
I'm curious, a mom question.
Yeah, go for it.
Because this is your boyfriend. Did you have a hard time digesting that, coming from someone who's not his father, saying that, there might be this issue with your son, like he might be struggling because specifically he needs to get tested for something?
Once I saw the actual and had more information, I said, you know what? He's
Yeah,
right a lot of the
he's
time.
right.
He is.
Yeah.
He's willing to pay for all the testing that I can't afford, and he's willing to put his money down. Worst case, we find out nothing's wrong.
Right.
Best case, we've got something,
Right.
and then we can make sure that he, at the very minimum, has
That is
faith.
like a solidification of like go from boyfriend to bruh.
I've been married once. I don't need to be married again.
Okay.
You can call him your more than.
My son calls him his stepdad,
Yeah.
though he calls him Matt. Like, that's
Okay.
5
All right.
years. I'll wait till my son's out of school to get married.
Are you an independent woman-owned local business? Would you like some free advertising? Sign up to be one of our boss bees. Contact us at momsafterdarktv.com.
If approached, I know I always had a bit of an attitude about it, and I know now, growing up, being a big kid now with my big girl thong, when I was approached by someone, I took offense to it. Do you find yourself doing that? Do you find yourself being defensive, or do you find yourself saying, hey, look, and just educating someone?
So I more focus on how my son feels about it.
Okay.
So we don't want him to think there's anything wrong with him, because
Right.
there's nothing wrong.
No.
Dyslexia just happens to be
It's
a
just
part
like
of him.
the operator put the wrong wire in.
Not even the wrong wire. He's just wired
Can
differently.
we think of this as a challenge to the norm that was created in society? Because what is normal?
Yeah.
How do you?
It's- Yeah.
Because that person doesn't fit, and reading's not natural. I mean, of course, it's created, right? It's created. We can point, we can, go like this, and we can feed ourselves. These are natural things, but reading was something created a long time ago. Languages were created to communicate, but we have other ways. But this is the box that we're put in, and then we create abnormalcy.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Exactly.
So no, I agree with you. There's nothing wrong with your
Nothing
son.
wrong.
He
Right.
just doesn't fit into that created norm.
Correct.
But flip it. That's not what everybody sees.
Of course. And that's
Where we
Yes.
get that's where I get defensive. Is like, are you asking because you want to gain knowledge, or are you asking because you're a nosy bitch?
So you know what? I don't want to say I'm an open book, but
Okay.
I am somebody this is my life. I need to use my life to not only help my son, but he's got friends with siblings who have Down syndrome. He's got friends with siblings who have severe autism. He's got friends all across the spectrum. He's got friends with, every possible difference you can imagine. I want to make sure he knows that these kids are just like him. They're just kids who are there.
Yeah.
So if I become defensive about any of this, then he becomes defensive.
Gotcha.
I don't want him to do that. I
Beautiful.
want him to welcome,
Yeah.
encourage, and help educate the world.
Was having a conversation on the way home with my sister about becoming a full adult, right? a full
A
adult.
whole adult.
A whole damn adult.
Ooh.
And that included, we were having a conversation regarding our family and certain family members who still have a lot of growing to do, and help create an environment where we feel like imposter adults. And now I'm struggling to grow out of that, where I'm not in a room full of professionals and a room full of executives, but I feel like an imposter, even though I know I can hang. But I feel like like I said, one, we have this social norm, and I'm losing track of my thought here.
You were talking to your sister. Which sister was it?
Drea.
Drea?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
we were
intelligent
talking about
conversation going
a
on.
whole adult. And yes, I'm back on track.
Yes,
which
thank you.
is, when we have conversations, let's not beat around the bush. Some people can't digest things. Some people like their norms and don't want to live outside of it, and they're judgy, and they're, and if something's different, they also like to compare. We know moms who love to compare. But I have this philosophy, and I've had it at work. I've had it in, just my regular personal life. When I come across someone who's just not so nice, and maybe it's my own glutton for punishment, I think I'd be a good candidate for Stockholm Syndrome. But when I come across people, I feel like, the tone that you use with them, if you continue to use over and over and over again, you're going to get back that tone. Eventually, maybe, with some people.
Absolutely.
Right? So if I greet you and I'm like, hello, that automatically makes you kind of, it's it's energy transferring, right? And so I believe in that energy, and I feel like when we're talking about these conversations, like your son with dyslexia, you could be guarded and want to protect him. But if you're around people, even if they feel a certain way or they want to judge you, if you're open with it and you continue to be open with it, and they realize you're not acting like anything's wrong, this is just a fact, then maybe, just maybe, that energy will transfer.
Eventually,
and then when those people come across other people, eventually it'll be kind of ingrained in them. Like there's nothing wrong.
That makes a lot of sense.
I could keep on going and going, but eventually,
No, but I
you know what I mean?
hear
Like,
what you're
we
saying,
have to
like-
open up conversations in order to, if we hide this information, then it becomes that stigma, right? It's like
Right.
Down syndrome, how much of a stigma it was used to call it other things. But now we have the open conversation. This is just what it is.
Right.
So we keep on talking to people and being open, being a whole adult. Like, this is the situation. I can't change it. Why should I hide it? This is my child. There's nothing wrong with him. He doesn't fit into your box, so what? And so sometimes when we act unbothered, then people have to move on. Well, I mean, it goes deeper. Some people don't.
They don't.
But
that's a whole nother show.
I always
stuck in high school.
I always,
Middle school.
I always strongly.
So I have two things to say that are going to be like, oh shit, what? There is that one mom that says, this is my son, he has autism, you need to put him in the front of the line. This is my son who has autism, I want him to play first. This is my son who has autism. You can't do that because he has autism. This is my son that has autism. You need to do this, you need to do that, and I need to make all the special arrangements in the world for your son.
Okay.
And your son is looking like, I guess so. How does that make you feel? Is that something that you would look differently on?
That's a hard one. Because there's definitely some kids who they truly need those services. And it's not.
Ready for the next one?
And go for it.
You ready? Self-diagnosis. These are the moms And I have seen this so many times. I have seen it, teaching classes at the rec center. I have seen it in the classroom, teaching kids that I have taught homeschool. My son or my daughter has a learning disability.
Okay.
Oh, what's their diagnosis? Well, we're not sure, but I'm sure that they have a disability.
Okay.
So I need X accommodations, I need all this stuff, da-da-da-da-da. And they expect me or whoever's teaching them to give them those accommodations. Then there are those who have real diagnosis that are on the coattails of the self-diagnosis, and they're like, okay, we need you to prove this, because that lady messed it up for everybody.
Traditional medicine. What I have run into with that is that you get those families who are like, my son's got this. The only doctor I'm going to go to get a diagnosis is this doctor. Oh yeah, they don't have a medical degree. They don't have this degree, but they're going to give me the supplements to cure my kid.
Yeah.
I'm like, I believe your child has something. But I want to make sure the accommodations your child gets are what they actually need.
What they're
so you
supposed
can
to get,
provide me with what the doctor says. And it doesn't have to be the biggest, best doctor in the world. It just has to be a doctor who's got training and experience in this.
Yes.
I'm going to go with it. So when I'm faced with those moms, I say, okay, just let me know what accommodations that I'm required to do by law. Make sure I've got that information so I can do that so your child can participate.
My point of saying is that I
Absolutely.
do understand that when people do that, the way that our society is and the way that people are judgmental, it can create cynics.
It really can.
One doesn't know which
It really
parent
can.
has, has their child diagnosed, and one doesn't know
Yeah.
which.
What our goal is with this episode of Moms After Dark is to keep pushing the education into other people. Keep pushing the fact that, yes, it is absolutely okay to come up to me, ask me a question about what's going on. I feel absolutely no kind of way about that.
Correct.
I'm not defensive. It is a medical condition. It is a psychological condition, whatever it is, and we need to talk about it. It's the same as, oh my gosh, I have athlete's foot, and the way that I'm going to take care of that or make people know about it is, make sure that you're wearing clean socks and keeping your feet dry. How hard is that? Like, look, my kid has ADHD. She eats standing up. Did you know that? Yeah, she knew that. I mean, that's, it's a second mama. But, it's not, we have to make it just regular conversation.
We do.
We just have to make it
Absolutely
regular
do.
conversation. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, so much for hanging out with me. This is Barbara and Fatima. I'm sorry.
You're welcome.
Barbara? You don't do Barb? Is it totally Barbara?
I don't do Barbie because I'm not a doll. Other than that, Barbara works.
Ooh, she said no Barbie!
Now you're going to do that, aren't you? I'm not going to respond.
Well, Barbie. No, it was awesome having you here, Fatima, as always. My sidekick in crime. Keep posted. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Facebook. Watch for our tips, tricks, previews, behind the curtain, all the bloopers and side conversations that happen. Men in a boat. Hot Pockets. On YouTube and all the things. Peace out.